Right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here we go. The review for Season 6, Episode 1 of Peaky Blinders. Well, Christ almighty, it's been a long wait, but wasn't that worth it? Right, first things first. I love the way they handled the fact that, unfortunately, Helen McClory died of cancer last year, meaning that she was not going to be able to take part in Peaky Blinders going forward. It was done respectfully, it was done tastefully, and it gave the characters a real good arc to go with going forward. Uh, Kieran Murphy is, as always, so cool. He makes the whole thing work. I've got to be honest, right? I wasn't that impressed with the first bit of the writing. It's slow, it's methodical. We've got like 6 episodes to go. It needs to pick up pace. And at the minute, it just feels like it's banking on the fact that Kieran Murphy's a really good looking bloke and lots of you ladies like him. You know, let's all have a drink and have a look at his nice blue pearly eyes and it'll all be nice and good. There wasn't much in the way of story. That's my big criticism. I get it, they've got to lay the foundations, but they more or less left the last series behind and said, we're going to put a mark under it and we're going to start again. And it's going to be Tommy versus Michael. It doesn't work, especially with Finkel's stupid stick-on moustache. Either commit to growing it or get somebody in the wardrobe department to stick you a decent one on, because you look fucking stupid, boy. And it doesn't make him look hard, it doesn't make him look intimidating, it just makes him look like a caricature. I get what they're trying to do with the whole, we are going for post-prohibition, Boston, New York. The references to Uncle Jack are fairly obvious. They're using a fictional version of Jack Kennedy, who was JFK and Robert Kennedy's dad, and was, as urban legend has it, the reason that Jack Kennedy got the presidency is because of the Irish mobsters out in Boston, who then got support throughout New York and other northern territories for him to get the Democratic nomination. And if that's the way they're going to telegraph it, I'd want a proper story. I want an original story. You're just ripping off old American folk tales at this stage. Not the way I'd do it. It feels so contrived. The set design is cool. They're trying to go with the sort of Great Gatsby, decadent sort of late 1920s vibe, especially with Anna Taylor-Joy, who I saw in the Queen's Gambit last year, and she was amazing. I feel unless they start really bringing her into this and making her the nemesis and not Finkel, we could be in for a bumpy ride. There's got to be a real sense of threat and a sense of danger. The IRA storyline is interesting, but again, it seems to have been dropped dead. Stephen Knight's probably going to pick it up later on, but I would want to see it right now and really start building to a story. You haven't got the time, you haven't got the resources. I know they keep saying that they're going to make a movie after the 6th episode. Do it, but pacing, and you've had 2 years to make this. We really should be feeling like we're getting onto the train and it's going to be going non-stop from there. This felt like your typical Peaky Blinders episode where it's building to a big finish at the end of the series, but again, with it being the last series, I'd want it going hell for leather right here, right now. We're going to set up all the pins and get everything going. I don't know what the hell they are doing with Arthur. It's really annoying. Uh, Paul Anderson's fantastic in that role as Arthur. And to just have him mumbling and slurring and just this almost comic, tragic figure is a bloody waste. It just is. The physical presence that guy has when he's in full tilt, in full rage, in full range. I get they want to do the PTSD aspect and all the, he's going through tragedies, hooks up to the heroine and all the rest of it, but it just comes across as a really, really bad Sherlock Holmes episode. Especially with the whole Asian opium den thing that it was going down. There's so many things this series can go for. Dropping the Oswald Mosley aspect for the beginnings of the English side of the Nazi Party. Do not drop that. Please don't drop it. It was interesting last series. It would be a crying shame considering that the Second World War doesn't finish till 1945 to drop it at 1933. I mean, the Nazis weren't even really getting into control till 1938. So why you've dropped it that early for this sort of crap Tommy versus Michael with his annoying American wife angle, I don't get. I mean, they're always going to struggle without Helen McClure as Polly Gray. One of the fantastic things about Stephen Knight's writing is he could do a strong female character without her being a male rip-off. She didn't have to be as strong as the boys. She didn't have to be, as aggressive as the boys. And she didn't have to be absolutely flawless. She could be flawed. She was deeply hurt from years of longing and losing her children and longing for someone to love her. And the whole mess she sort of got herself in towards the end, it showed her fragility. But the way that she commanded that screen, the way she commanded the other actors around her, some of that was the writing because she was written as a naturally strong woman in her own way. She had her own strengths. She knew how to manipulate her own sex appeal. As a female, there were all sorts of different complex bits of her character that just made it work. And to be honest, I think they're missing that massively. And they need to very quickly remedy it. Have someone step up to challenge Tommy, to be support, to give Kieran Murphy the sort of surrounding cast that he had in the beginning. I think we forget quite how many members of the Shelby family we've lost over the years. And apart from Arthur, we're really sort of dragging the dregs of what's left of that strong family unit. So someone's got to step up. They're clearly going somewhere with the fact that Tommy's not interested in Lizzie or the kids, and she clearly wants out. But to be honest, I'd have been more interested in that if she'd have been a more challenging character, challenging Tommy's behaviour, really stepping up, being part of the company, being part of the business. I know where they're going to go. They're going to go with this whole distancing thing. They're going to go with isolation and Tommy sort of getting lost in these dreams of grace and all this other sort of backstory that they built up over 5 years. But the fact that you're missing so many key characters now, you're sort of leaving Kieran Murphy out there to dry, and it doesn't work unless you're going to bring in some charismatic actors around him for him to act with. He's going to be lost. So for God's sake, get Arthur back on the wagon and in some way engaged. Get some adversary for Tommy to go up against that isn't Michael and his dodgy fucking moustache. I can't tell you how much I hate that moustache. It looks like a rat died on his mouth. And that's from me, who's had a couple of dodgy moustaches. Dear God, please just give me something. Some of the adversities Tommy's had, actor wise, going from the likes of Sam Neill, Adrian Brody, Tom Hardy, some real proper stellar character actors, Hollywood actors. I know Anna Taylor Joy is there. She's now getting to that Hollywood stage, but what are they going to do? Are they going to elevate her to the main villain? If they are, they're going to have to give her some decent dialogue. Other than this sort of pouty, horrid child that they seem to have manifested. It's just, she's a better actress than that, and she needs to be given something to work with. They all do. I can't sing Kieran Murphy's praises enough. But I think this episode gets away with being good, well, average, just on his sheer magnetism and his sheer screen presence. The way he swaggers around, the way he delivers dialogue in that. You know, they even self-referenced it in that real deadpan, serious, angry motion. You know, they're very self-aware of who and what they are. And if it's too much for one act to do on his own, yes, he's the main protagonist, but give him something. Because if you're not going to give him different things and different storylines, it can't just be about Tommy all the time. It was about the family. It was about the Shelby Company Limited. They were the stars of the show, not just Kieran. And you know, I get it. I get that he's likeable. I get that he's a very, very talented actor. I'm not trying to knock anything away from him. I just think you need to give him something to do. And this wasn't it, Chief. It just wasn't. And I don't know what the BBC are trying to prove here. It's like, it's a half-cocked idea at the minute. And I don't know where it's specifically come from. If it's come from Stephen Knight and he's genuinely got an idea of where he wants this to go, you know, he keeps talking about the movie. But you're going to be looking at, 3-4 years of production for that to even happen. And if you're already looking at that and not looking at your overall story, then it might be dead in the water. What we don't want is a Game of Thrones situation. The way they sort of shit the bed and lost everybody. The prequels for Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon's coming up in the next couple of months, and nobody cares. Nobody cares because HBO and the executive producers didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to end the story and just rushed it out. And I have a real sinking feeling it's going to be that all over again. Because Game of Thrones started off slow and didn't really get anywhere until the last couple of episodes. And if this episode's anything to go on, it's bang on the same. This slow, drudgerous pace where nothing really happens but set up and double cross and just all these tired little cliches that we've seen a million times. If you're gonna go down that route, do something clever with it. You know, you're looking at 1920s, 1930s America. You've even taken it out of England, so you can really go interesting with organised crime, early 20th century. You know, the likes of Bugsy Siegel and Capone and all these other sort of gangsters from different ethnicities, and the battle for control of different cities within these groups. I know that's what they are trying to sort of hint at going forward, but actually do it. Be interesting. You know, have numerous strong leading men and women. You know, that's That's not even a thing. It's just, I want somebody who grabs the camera just as much as Kieran does, because he's going to need that witty back and forth for that type of dialogue to work, that deadpan delivery, that sort of bait and switch surprising mechanic. You're going to have some real acting chops and acting talent, being able to bounce off him, bounce the ideas off, go about it in several different ways, and look at all the politics. I mean, there's some. Again, this is something that's I've looked at, and it just doesn't grab me at the minute. It's like bringing in Teddy Roosevelt and all these things about the American presidency, and it's so detached and removed from everyone else's sort of day to day. Unless you're a real history buff, it's gonna fly over most people's heads, and I just don't think it tells a compelling story. Who cares about the American presidency in the early 30s? You'd be much better telling a story as surrounding sort of the pro Yahtzee. I can't say the actual word because Mama Susan. The pro Yahtzee movements around Europe and America in the late 20s to mid 30s, like they did with England and Oswald Mosley. It's a historically accurate thing that happened in the UK. There are so many different ways that you could have gone about that in different countries and kept Oswald Mosley in the story. There's just so many different, I think, more interesting things that they could have done at a lower level that really would have made it pop and work. And it's just not there for me right now. Sorry, this is our channel mascot. Say hi, Jet. Say hey, since you're going to interrupt me recording. He is going to be our little channel mascot too, and you'll probably see loads of him over the next few months. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you guys think this was interesting, or is it just me? Because I know a bit of history, I just found it a bit boring and a bit on the nose. I thought they could have done far more interesting interpersonal relationships with the characters that are left, and really try and develop their stories. This thing started as a family drama, not just one guy. Yes, Tommy was the leader, but it was about the family and his ties to the family and the PTSD from the First World War and all that other stuff that affected them. And it just seems to have been lost. The BBC seems to have gone, Kieran Murphy's popular, let's just have more of Kieran Murphy. That'll do it. And it's like, no. You're not getting the story. You're not getting what good writing is. And it's such a shame. Such a shame. Drop Finkel. I know they're not going to do it because it's shot now, but Finkel's never grabbed me as a particularly interesting actor playing Michael. He just, for me, feels wooden, and now they've sort of elevated him into this main antagonist role. I think it just shows him up even worse for sort of flat delivery, wooden manoeuvres, wooden facial features. I mean, every time I see him, it's just like, go away. I don't take you seriously. Go away. I want someone who's going to make me feel that the family's under threat. Bit like Adrian Brody did. Take away the dodgy Italian accent that he did. Adrian Brody made me feel frightened for that family. The They even showed bits of what they could have done as part of the thing with Polly Gray's exit. You know, the IRA, massive threat for like 150 years, even up to now. And, you know, you're not doing anything with that. You've just sort of left it for another episode. Whereas I don't want to say interesting because that's disrespectful, but there's a far more complex and adult story to be told about Britain and the IRA from sort of the early 20th century to the late, you know, probably up to the Good Friday Agreement. You know, you could tell all sorts of stories from there. You know, and we're only looking probably with this series to about 1940, but there's so many key bits of espionage and back and forth and threat and violence, and you know, there's all sorts of different things that we could look at with more interesting factions in that world than what we're currently being presented with. And I think a bit of it is no one wants to tell intelligent stories anymore. No one wants to treat the audience like it's read a book. You know, it's all a case of show, don't tell, don't show, where it should be the opposite. You know, show, don't tell. It all felt a bit disconnected. I didn't feel the same connection with the characters, and I don't know whether it's because of the time away or what have you. But normally good writing will sort of envelop you in a story and drag you in, where you can understand characters' decisions and flaws and really empathise with different angles to each character, and you care about what happens to them. And because of this sort of high-minded, almost like an overview way of storytelling that they seem to have gone for, I think they're really missing the personal story. They're missing the thing that made the programme great. It's very stylish. It's very well produced. It's got a great visual atmosphere, and the music's spot on. But I don't want style over substance. And if that is the best way that I could review this show at the minute, or this episode, should I say, it was all very style, it was all very set up, but nothing there to really drag you in. And I desperately wanted something more. It's so close. It can get there. It just needs to develop the story and the characters around Tommy. You know, Polly's gone and they handled it great, but now you've got to elevate other members of that cast to fill that role, or you are gonna die so quickly with this. And I desperately don't want it to go out as a damp squib. So I'm hoping I'm wrong, and I'm hoping this is just a one slow build up to a massive thing, and next week I come back and go, oh my god, that was amazing. Let's have some more of that. I'm on the edge of my seat. And I know I can do it. It's done it every single year. But it's always been towards the back end. And that's fine when you know you've got series left to come. But when you're in the final stretch, it needs to be bang, 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 bang. You need to be paying off so many different storylines and so many different arcs. Use the timeline you've got. Use the historical influences and characters that are around, like they're trying to do with the whole Jack Kennedy thing and Teddy Roosevelt, but make it more grounded. Make it something we care about. Bring back Alfie Solomons. Bring back Tom Hardy as Alfie Solomons. I know they sort of hinted at Solomon's towards the end. And last time we saw Alfie, he was down in Southend, critically injured by Tommy. But this will have been 4 years down the line, so for the love of God, bring Tom Hardy back. Even if it's just to do his weird methodical grunts, because at least it's interesting, at least it gives the audience something to delve into. But I just hope this doesn't end the way I think it's going to. You guys might have watched it and gone, it's amazing, Wobbly. I don't know what you're talking about. I couldn't have asked for a better beginning. But I don't think I'm wrong. When you haven't got the time to be self-indulgent, your story needs to be so tight, and it's flabby at the minute, and it's all over the shop. And I know there's going to be a movie, but if you're going to do a movie, you best have 3 acts there, tight as anything, beginning, middle, end. Because you've only got 2, max 3 hours to tell that story, not 6-7 weeks. You've really got to make your story impactful, and I just don't think Stephen Knight's got it in him. He's a wonderful long form storyteller, but he can get lost in the weeds. Taboo's a good example of that. Even with Tom Hardy, I found Tom's performance in that captivating, but because the story was so convoluted, no one watched it, and it never got picked up for a second series. Stephen Knight's adaptation of A Christmas Carol with Stephen Graham and the other guy escapes me now. That's really bad, isn't it? Quick, let's Google, shall we? Well, we're here together as friends. Let's Google. Come on, give me the cast. Guy Pearce, there we go. I nearly said Guy Ritchie, and I know it wasn't him, so I wasn't going to say it. It was convoluted, and it was a modern retelling, but it wasn't the thing. This is why I know his writing can get really self-indulgent, and I don't want that. I don't think anybody does. I don't want the story to go over people's heads. I want them to enjoy it. I don't want them to be going, oh my God, what was that and why did I waste my time? Film study students will love it for all its visual tricks and its use of music and it's all great stuff, but for us watching, mostly what you want is good, captivating writing, and if they're not going to be nice and clear and crisp with all the dialogue, with all the story, here's our jumping on point, here's our jumping off point, I think it could be a long slog and a disappointing one for us all. But if you guys disagree, drop me a comment. I'm gonna wrap it up here because I want to keep this sort of these reviews fairly short and maybe go into a longer form if people want it later on. But I think I've got my views across. I really want you guys to say what you think of it. So if you can like, share and subscribe The Wobbly Geek and get our voices out here and get us to review some more fun things, that'd be great. Anyway, I'm off off for the night, and I'll see you guys later. And if I don't see you later, it'll be good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And if you don't get that reference, maybe that might have to be a review for later on. Anyway, see you later.